record on the computer. There you go. So I'll tell you what we'll do, actually, Alan. So just in terms of, so we didn't know each other, I don't think, a week or so ago.
No.
I posted out on LinkedIn about I just got my 3rd degree black belt. And I thought rather than doing one of these things about talking about thanking everybody, which they all know who they are anyway, I thought actually I'd like to celebrate getting it by getting at least one person on the mat. You know, just get them on the mat and make that step. So what was the you read the post and you decided, but what was the kind of decision process in terms of you making the step? I think you mentioned your wife to begin with.
Yeah, so basically, if I could think right now, I mean, first of all, thank you. Thank you for getting me on the mat. I mean, and I can tell you how the process went. And just to be clear, I didn't know you. You just appeared on my feed and I just went with it and I wrote you. What happened was I was acquainted with Jiu Jitsu, with BJJ, through my wife. She did it. Now she's pregnant. She cannot do it. But she's done it before, and I went to see her a couple of times. So I knew about it, and she always said that she misses it, how she felt about it, how all this rage and all this energy is somehow compressed. So she had mentioned some benefits. And then why I went was because, as I told you, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in a pre-seed stage here in Germany. I have other companies offshore. So it takes a toll on you to work on your own and additionally carry your own load and your own problems in life. So lately it's been difficult. A lot of more than the average has been taking place. And I read this and I thought I need something to release all the stress I have because lately it's been above average. And I thought I would give it a try. Of course, I wrote you, hey, I reached out to an academy and I did, but I still wasn't 100% sold on going. And then you started poking me on messages like, hey, so where did you go? Because I don't know if you have a method, but you kind of were making sure I went through with it because maybe you know that I had some doubts. Like, yeah, I reached out. Does it mean I'm going to go? And you made sure. I'm like, oh, where are you going? Where to this? So I'm like, this guy is taking me to the next level. So I did it. I called. I made an appointment. I'm like, when is the best day for me to come? I just want to spar. It's my first time. But basically, I would say what triggered the situation was that I was looking at the time, and I still am, for something on how to leverage all the steam I have. Because I know that if you don't blow off all that steam, it impacts your performance. And, you know, I want to be high performance on and off the ground, you know, on and off the pitch, on and off the mat. And I've told you I've played rugby before. At 43, it's kind of hard to keep on taking that. So
sorry, Alan, do you work remotely as well, or are you working in a
hybrid, but most of it remotely? And as you know, the engagement's differently. You know, I have a co-working space, but mostly I'm working from home or an office space, and you need to deal with everything that happens in human interactions on Slack, on a digital space, and it's not the same. So
100%.
This is everything that pushed me to. I'm like, well, I need to go release this somewhere. You convinced me with the briefing. You said, look, breathing, and you basically explained how this mirrors life.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a good trigger at the time I was in, and I went onto the mat.
Perfect. And I think one of the things you mentioned as well is about like we sort of had a little pre-discussion, I think, about establishing boundaries as well. So I think one of the things that's brilliant about, I think, like the hardest bit is going and getting your white belt. That was one of the things I commented. And that you get a lot of young guys who say, oh, that's the easiest thing in the world. And they'll crack a joke and saying, oh, you can buy a white belt on Amazon. And it's like, no, that's not.
Yeah.
What was sort of going through your mind before you went into the academy, like just before you go in?
Well, you know, I did mention, of course, I told the wife, and she's like, I think it's great. And then I told a few of my colleagues or friends, and they're like, Jiu Jitsu, fuck, man, that's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
So of course, the first thing I try not to think of it much because I train my mind not to worry about that.
Yeah.
But of course, my initial thought was not what to expect or what's going to happen there. It was about more the struggle of my mind of me going in there. So I
Yeah.
did come late from another appointment, and I could have easily snapped out of it. And then it's basically a commitment to myself.
Yeah.
I, you were there as a steward in the process, and then it was basically on me saying to myself, if you don't do this, you're just quitting on yourself. So my struggle was going there, not really what's going to happen in the mat, because as I told you, I've been involved in other sports, contact sports. I'm fine. I knew I would be fine in the space once I got there. It's more about doing the first step of getting yourself in there.
Yeah.
Because there could be any excuse. Oh, I don't have a G. I don't have trousers. I came late. I haven't eaten, or the thing was late. That was it. That was the hardest part, and I didn't really think too much about what was going to happen there, but basically about keeping my commitment of getting there.
Yeah. And so you got on the mat. You told me about you got through it fine. Really you basically got through it all. And then afterwards, like, how did you feel after the session
I
once it
mean,
was over?
I mean, not to skip the part about being in the mat.
Yeah.
The group was so welcoming. Everybody was so warm. They are gentle. Everybody engages with you differently, of course.
Yeah.
But I could tell you that it 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 is not something other people should be scared of. There was also somebody that said, "Hey, it's my first time." He set boundaries. Hey, do not touch here because I have something. I didn't say anything. I just went at it, not knowing what to expect. And then they started establishing some boundaries, and like you said, this mirrors life, and you need to tell people what to expect to align expectations. So that's good. And the one of the greatest things is for an hour and a half, I didn't think of anything. I was too
Yeah.
busy getting choked. So or trying to get to my opponent. And that
Yeah.
and that was great because it all went out there. It all went out there. And what happened afterwards was I asked everybody for a photo, which it's a post I will make and tag
Right.
you.
Awesome.
And that was great because I felt accomplished. I'm like, I did this. I went an hour and a half. I have my scratches, my
Yeah.
bruises, but a victory. And the next day of feeling sore in a good way, I have that. But I guess the best part about it was that during my times of stress, my body's been developing some signs.
Right.
And then, funny enough, these manifested after my first session, but I knew they were coming from a place of stress. Before they
Right.
happened, I didn't know what they were. I'm like, am I sick? Is something happening? And then I could say, oh, so this happens when I'm stressed, when I go through a moment of duress. But I was such in a calm state after draining all that energy and releasing all that energy that I said, oh, this happens because of this. I'm fine with it. And immediately went away. And one of the best benefits I could already tell you is I slept like a rock.
Yeah.
I am not getting that kind of sleep usually every day, but now I did, and this is why I want to move forward with it.
I think this is why people like Elon Musk. I'm in a co-founded a technology business with my wife. We trade in a lot of countries. The sun never sets on our clients. It's 24/7 pretty much, apart from a bit of the weekend. But you can see why people like Elon Musk and
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, and you've got these actors now, Keanu Reeves and Tom Hardy, and the all these people that are in high pressure roles, and they need some escapism. I think is certainly one of the things you need to be able to escape and have your brain kind of working, but kind of switched off from the outside, I think.
Yeah, it's key because you have to find something that you could relate to. So, for
Yeah.
example, the sports I do now work. I was involved in rugby for a while until I don't know 3 years ago maybe. Then Corona hit, and for X or Y reason, I'm just not there anymore. And then there's snowboarding, which I do, which takes a bunch of hitting too. But it's a seasonal thing, but you're always looking for something that you can do constantly. That's probably really close for where you live, and this is why
Yeah.
I joined this academy in my nearby. And there are other people that tell you you should do meditation, you should do yoga, but I just don't see myself aligning with all these things. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
don't feel like they're a right fit. And when you proposed jiu-jitsu and I looked at it and I was kind of acquainted with it, I'm like, yeah, this is a contact. And you had me with the breathing. I think that's very important because
Yeah.
as in a high performing role, you will have stress. You will manage people. You will manage with very uncomfortable situations. You have to make decisions quickly. And you spoke so clearly about all this, and I said, yeah, I need to train more of this in a safe space, because what's happening is I'm encountering these situations in my professional life every day,
Yeah.
but you're in train for. But when you train them in an academy, in a safe place, that you know it's just a training or a simulation, I think you're better off facing them in real life when it already happened. And when you're there in this simulator, I mean, you're going to have to learning how to breathe, learning how to be somebody choking you and not
Yeah.
breathing, or when to tap out and engaging boundaries. So I found this wonderful.
Yeah.
And this is why I want to do it more, because I need that space. I want it. I like what it has to offer. And I like the learnings that you can get from it.
Yeah. And I think I think we touched on this a little bit in our pre-discussion, but I think in every single time I step on the mat in my own gym, in other gyms, in jiu-jitsu, you'll notice people are very direct with each other. The more experienced they're very direct, they're very nice, but they're very direct. And a bit like in a business culture, this of establishing a boundary with a boss, with a junior member, whoever it is relative to you, this thing of saying, this is what I'm not comfortable with. That's something that a lot of people don't do in regular life. They're either like
Yeah.
furious in their car, they're driving in their car, and somebody does something and they're like, I'm going to kill you and whatever. But you see that same person out of their car and they wouldn't say anything to anybody. And so they have these extremes of the behavior. But in jiu-jitsu, it's like, hey, you did this. I was happy with everything, but you did this. I wasn't happy with that. And you're going on that journey with somebody else because they might then say to you, oh, well, yeah, but I think I was justified in doing that because you did that to me or you did this or whatever. And then it's like, okay, deep breath. I don't think you're right there. and,
Yeah, no, and
and then you bring the instructor in, and the instructor usually will be the person that then will say, hey, hang on, if you because what I noticed is like with the instructors, very, very rare anybody has a problem with, I mean, it happens, there are some bad clubs, but generally I find instructors in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you go, you'd never have a problem with them. That's the funny thing. In rolling, you don't get, usually very rare,
yeah,
you should never be getting hurt by a BJJ black belt,
yeah,
unless you really, really deserved it. And I find they're super gentle. And that's really what that they're the example. And that's what the class is aspiring to. And so if somebody else that you train with, even if they're a more senior belt than you, if they do something that you're not comfortable with, you tell them, and you direct and polite and accurate, but you tell them you're not happy with it. And if you're not happy with their reply, in my opinion, you speak to the instructor. And if you're then not happy with the instructor's reply on that, you can be polite, you can be graceful. But there are other clubs now as well. There are other places you can go and train. So I certainly think at the beginning as well, feel free to test some different places out as well. If you think the vibe feels good, you speak to an instructor, and I test some other places as well, by all means. Share experiences. I don't I'd often I wouldn't be I'm not disparaging about somewhere else, but I might say I went and trained somewhere and I really like this, but I didn't like that, and I don't know if this is something that you can offer more of what, less of what I don't like about it. And clubs have different approaches. Some will have like beginners only classes,
mhm,
which I think have pros and cons, uh,
yeah, yeah,
because the black belt's the safest
yeah,
to
exactly.
train with.
We spoke
Um,
about that. Yeah,
so that's, but sometimes the nice thing about being in a beginner's class is if they're nice people, you're kind of all learning together, and there isn't that kind of assumed superiority of like, oh well, I hurt you and it's for your own good. you never want to get hurt. You don't want to be getting hurt. It might be stressful, but you definitely shouldn't be getting hurt. So that would be the advice. Like, you just have to trust your instincts on these things.
Yeah. No, I mean, overall, great experience. I mean, it's
Fantastic.
basically forgetting everything and stepping down into your human role, you know, like
Yeah,
survival, adaptation, communication. I mean, it's good to have an opportunity to go into that space so close to your home, because you know
yeah,
sometimes you have to go to the mountains, you have to go really far, but
yeah.
this is an academy this is literally 12-13 minutes walk from where I live.
All right, brilliant.
So to have this opportunity to go there and then just go into this role, I really feel recharged. You know, this was great.
Awesome.
I'm definitely looking forward to do more. Um, I personally like contact sports, so
Yeah,
it is a good fit for me. Maybe some people don't like it and they want to do other things. But if you tell me that it has the ingredients that I'm looking for, which is breathing techniques, meditation, because I don't know, this was my first time, but
yeah,
I think you do have to meditate when you're down there with the knee in your
absolutely.
face and thinking, I want to conserve my energy to know how to get out of here. Because I was doing that.
Yeah,
By sparring number 5, I was down there hurting, but in a safe, good way.
yeah,
And then I learned that, okay, maybe I shouldn't go sloppy all the way and waste my energy. I need to find a way how to get out of this.
yeah.
This is a form of meditation. Stay down. It's
100%.
not applying more pressure. How do I get out? So you're under the rest, but you need to think. So these for me was all the ingredients that I was looking for. Contact, a way to release, apply strength, meditation, breathing, which I understand you learn later
Yes.
down the line because you need it. By sparring number 5, I was completely out of breath. And yeah, I think it has a lot of what I'm looking for. And of course I would also encourage other people to try it out and then try to apply these techniques into their real life.
Awesome. Just on the breathing as well. I mean, I try and do the breathing now as part of the I try and do the breathing now as, like, I get all my beginners to actually do breathing at home on their own, separate to the class.
Okay.
Definitely you see more experience, a lot of more experienced jiu-jitsu players might not do formal breathing, but they learn to slow it with experience. They learn to slow it down. But for me, I feel it's so important to the club that I run, and that the more I can get the beginners doing the breathing and becoming, relaxed. We actually start classes now with some rocking breathing. So we breathe and stretch. And it's kind of like, it's not like a static stretch, it's a moving stretch, very slow. We do this thing called rock and roll, which Belissa Vranic, who's like my breathing coach, has people do. So I have them rocking as they breathe. So it's kind of movement, but it's kind of gentle, but it clears it out. It clears the mind for people before they start the session. So if we start all
Yeah.
nice and relaxed, I tend to find it lowers the intensity. And we talk a lot about not breathing with the mouth during sparring. We're not
Mm.
saying at competition you don't do that. Competition, everything goes out. You go for it. But before you get on the mat at competition, you need to stay calm as you can. So no mouth breathing. And generally, when we spar, we're practice sparring technique. No mouth breathing, and that's one of the ways we monitor the
Mm.
performance. So I will try to roll against other people. If I'm rolling with a complete, someone relatively new, I might put my hands on my belt, not use the hands, and I'm also nasal breathing the whole time. So I can always find ways of lowering the amount of energy I can put into it, and then I need to find new ways to solve problems, which is basically meditation, as you said. So
Yeah.
you can
And
you can take someone who's relatively new, even as a black belt, you can take someone relatively new and make them really hard to train with. Don't
yeah.
use the hands on the belt, only breathing very slowly. They're going for it with their hands, and they're
Yeah.
trying to kill you. You just
It
find ways of playing the game.
and energy conservation I found was
100%.
a big factor. And I mean, if I'm just thinking, this is
Yeah.
why I'm still in it, or why I'm going to move forward with it. If I can find a way to be in a stressful situation where I have an opponent or another force that's probably stronger or bigger than me.
Rival company.
Yeah. Or you know, you
Whatever.
have in your company, outside your company, all this in your life, and then you have this force against you while you're on the floor. Because this is what I was doing. I mean, the other guys, and they were fine. They were like, okay. I said, what do I do? Just try to neutralize me, try to get on top of me. And they weren't doing much. I was all over the place, and they were like grabbing. Then I started developing other moves, but they were calm. They were calm, and I was spending all my energy going all over the place, going around. And then when I got a little bit better, then they would move or roll, or they did something. But what I was impressed is people were calm. They were not spending all that energy that I was spending, and I was on top of them. They would either lock me with the legs or do anything. So I'm thinking,
awesome.
There's a lot of energy conservation here. There's a lot of energy management. So what would happen if there's a technique down there that I'm not aware of, and that I could apply it when I'm in a negotiation, in a stressful situation with everybody, how to breathe, how to think, how to. This is I find, you know, very, very interesting. This is why I'm in it.
So when's your next session? When's the next class?
It's if the soreness, because I'm gonna go swim today,
get
it off. It should be Monday with the
cool.
beginning group. There's a beginners group, and I'm gonna see how it goes because I was with the advanced group, if I'm not mistaken, and there were some black belts. And as you said, and I told you, from rugby experience to spar or to play with experienced players, it's the best because they're gentle, they don't hurt you, you don't get injured, so it's pretty good. I don't know how it's going to go with the white belts, but here we are. So maybe there's going to be more instruction and less sparring. I still don't know how the format is. I don't know if it's international format where you go, you learn something. So I did learn something, and then we went on sparring. We're going to see. I'll keep you posted, and we'll go from there.
Please do, yeah. I'm keen to get more people doing jiu-jitsu now. That's kind of, I've sort of thought about this, and I think, you know, just all over the world, the more people we can get doing jiu-jitsu people are good people. I generally find there's always a bad egg somewhere, but they're generally very good people. And I think the more people we can get who can actually, you know, get that, first of all, get the white belt, get through the academy. And then if somebody can get to blue belt, I think that they're, you know, against the vast majority of the population in any country in the world, they are blue belt. They are relatively kind of like a fighting machine against an untrained person. That's how I look at it. They are like a fight. You know, if you some people might laugh that are in martial arts, but really think about an untrained version of yourself. Even think about what you know now, having done that session, versus what you knew. I reckon Allan now would beat Allan yesterday morning or whatever it was, you know, before the session, like hands down. Because
I did learn a move on how to put you on the floor, and
that
and I did it well because it involved kind of flipping, which I'm used to from rugby. So it's.
But you know what the move was called? What was the move?
I don't know. I cannot tell you, but it basically implied grabbing somebody from here, pulling him down, and then neutralizing his other arm all the way down. So he's in a very position going down, so he cannot move, and then you go around him and. So I don't know the name.
Sounds like a snap down and a turnaround.
And a turnaround, and then he's down on the floor. Of course, I don't know what to do once he's there because I haven't learned that much. But there's definitely interesting stuff. And everybody was nice. You know, I liked it. People were gentle. You were open for the beginners. I think it's a good crowd, as you said. I think from the outside, a lot of people might think that this is like Karate Kid, where you have the Johnny Lawrence kind of guy. So he's in a club, he's in a dojo, he's a bad apple, he's a bad egg. No, these were basically, it seems to me that 99% of the crowd there was more balanced. Like, I am aware, I know this. I am aware of boundaries. I think they're more aware because they are now instructed in this. This was my perception on the first time I've ever done any martial art.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there then, Allan. I think that sounds like a plan. Thanks ever so much for sharing it with me, for jumping on with me, because I wanted I wanted to do this, and I think if I'll send you this video beforehand, you might want to take a look at it, make sure you're happy with it all. But I think the basic gist of it is it would be wonderful to take these experiences and almost pass them on. And if we can get like another person, another person, another person, I think it really does. For me, it completely changed my life.
Wow.
And has allowed me to deal with all kinds of things I don't think I would otherwise have been able to deal with in life.
I can imagine. So, and
Yeah.
and thank you, because basically I'm here because of you.
Yeah.
So if you can get, the pass it on,
Yeah.
maybe you set yourself some goals, and I wish you the best in this journey. And again, thank you very much for making all the necessary steps. So I went on that mat, because I think that's a game changer. You need to convince somebody, because people would say, yeah, I'll go. You're having a pint, going riding a bike. Yeah, I'll go with you too. So if they didn't actually go to it, but if you have a good process of making somewhere go there, I think it's definitely a game changer. And then they're hooked. This is what I got out of it. I'm sure other people can get other stuff out of it. Maybe some people have a knack for action and they want to go for it. Maybe other people just want to be trained in a martial art and defend themselves. And hey, that's all good. I went in it for the reasons I told you, and I saw immediate results. I'm here, safe, good. I slept
Alive.
like like I haven't slept in a while. And again, thank you very much for this opportunity, and let's see where it goes.
Yep. Keep me posted, Alan. And get the breathing in as well. Do the breathing video.
Yeah, look, I'll let you know when I get this Wim Hof, or anything you can suggest as well. I think it's important. And what I'm into it is energy conservation, how to deal with stress and breathing. These are the three things that really attract me, and of course, my well-being. I need to be 100% for myself, for my family, for my business, and for everything that entails.
Awesome. Thank you so
Right.
much, Alan.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. All the best. Cheers.
Take care. Cheers. Bye.